The environmental change is real, and it's not just something that will threaten a distant future. It's affecting people today, and it's going to affect you and me, my children, your children, in their lifetime.
I must say that I'm really more concerned today than ever about the state of the world.
The question is not what can be done. The question is what must be done.
If you get an opportunity to move on some environmental problem, move quickly.
We have to do more than discuss. We have to act.
At 80, Maurice Strong is still going strong for the environment. He's the man who spearheaded the historic UN Conference on the Human Environment held in Stockholm in 1972.
The UN conference opened at Sweden's historic Parliament building with the intention of publicizing the fragile nature of our planet and drawing up guidelines for its protection.
The meeting that set the stage for a new phase of international cooperation on the environment.
The problems we identified 40 years ago have now become far more acute, to the point where they literally threaten the future of life on Earth. And so we have to give them a completely new sense of urgency. We have to put them at the top of our priority. Our survival is now at issue.
Across the Atlantic in the US, a strong environmental movement was already taking shape even before the Stockholm meeting. The country had already passed legislations to regulate water and air quality, culminating in the establishment of the Environment Protection Agency, EPA, in 1970. William Ruckelshaus was the founding administrator of the agency, an organization whose creation was the symbol of America's environmental leadership in the 70s.
We were able to do a number of things to push industry and to push municipalities and others to improve the environment, there was public support for that, and that public support had waned toward the end of that decade and into the next, and particularly into the 90s, it was harder for those agencies to make progress. We also had picked off what we think of as low-hanging fruit. There were big polluters. They were very visible. They were not supported by the public in what they were doing. So going after them in the courts to enforce the standards was relatively easy at the early part of this, and it became much harder when you could see the economic difficulties that occurred as a result of that environmental pressure.
And indeed, coming into Stockholm, the US was a natural lead at the conference and played a key role in the creation of the UN Environment Program, UNEP, as the anchor institution for global environmental management. John MacDonald is now 87 years old. He was secretary of the US delegation at the Stockholm meeting and is largely credited with drafting the text that gave rise to UNEP.
In the middle of 1971, I actually wrote out 4 resolutions to take to the 4th Preparatory Committee for Stockholm. And those 4 call for the creation of UN Environment Program and outline the terms of reference of the intergovernmental mechanism. The 2nd resolution defined the role of the Secretariat and what UNEP should do. The 3rd resolution set up a special fund for development for projects in the environmental field, which is a voluntary contribution, not an assessed contribution as part of the UN budget. And the 4th was an interagency coordinating mechanism within the UN system to bring in the various agencies like WHO and ILO and FAO who had pieces of the environment, but bring them together, coordinating committee chaired by the head of UNEP to ensure that there was no overlap and duplication. And those 4 resolutions basically were finally adopted. 95% of them were adopted by the conference in Stockholm. And so UNEP was launched by the General Assembly on December 15, 1972.
These environmental pioneers represent the single most important element that has been missing in the debate on environmental governance: leadership.
They're different, aren't they? These people are in their 80s. They're still in their suits and ties every day. They go to the office 6 days a week. I think that is a very strong message to our generation, which is used to media from all parts of the world, instantaneous. We need to be focused, to be committed, and just go at it.
These men and women are now largely in their twilight years, but they are still eager to pass on the baton to a new generation of environmental leaders. That is a platform the Global Environmental Governance Project has sought to create. On the shores of Lake Geneva, a rare gathering cutting across generations. This is the Global Environmental Governance Forum in this resort village of Glion in Switzerland.